Hey movie buffs, I'm Jack Benner and welcome to my review of The Wolf of Wall Street. The Wolf of Wall Street is a 2013 dark comedy crime film directed by the one and only Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Jonah Hill, Margot Robbie, and many others. Based on a true story of Jordan Belfort, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, it tells the true story of his rise to wealth as a stockbroker on Wall Street, leading to his downfall with crime, corruption, and the FBI. Back in 2013, I remember first seeing that trailer for The Wolf of Wall Street, which was absolutely amazing. From how wild, funny, chaotic, and energetic it looked, and I just loved how that trailer was cut, and after watching it, I immediately went, I want to see this movie. And that still remains, to this day, one of my favorite movie trailers. And other reasons I was excited to see it: one, Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio are a dynamic duo and always love whenever they collaborate on a movie. From Gangs of New York, The Aviator, The Departed, Shutter Island, and now this. And Killers of the Flower Moon coming out this Friday, which I can't wait to see. And it also looked like an interesting true crime story from Scorsese. I loved The Wolf of Wall Street. When I first saw it in 2014, I said, this movie's a masterpiece. And rewatching it recently for this review, this movie's still a masterpiece, like 10 years later. Oh my god, this film is 10 years old now. Time flies. So The Wolf of Wall Street is just an incredible movie in every way. It absolutely holds up as one of Scorsese's best. Let's start this review with the pros. First, Martin Scorsese packs a punch with his terrific directing, continuing to prove why he is one of, if not the greatest filmmakers of all time, infusing so much style, energy, and wild entertainment throughout the entire 3-hour duration, while also telling an interesting and engaging story. I love his camera movements in the film, whether how they move or they just hold on to a scene. And this movie is always on. It's just always going and going and going. It's so rapid fire. And it's crazy to think that during the time of this movie, Martin Scorsese was in his 70s when he made this. But what makes The Wolf of Wall Street truly work are the incredible performances, mainly from Leonardo DiCaprio as Jordan Belfort. Leonardo DiCaprio is one of our best actors working today and has given so many incredible performances throughout his career. This is hands freaking down, still to this day, my favorite performance Leonardo DiCaprio has ever given. It's DiCaprio at his most funniest, charismatic, relentless, committed, and just absolutely tremendous every second he is on screen. It's very apparent how he's completely invested in this character, relishing every second of it. While Jordan Belfort is a criminal and just an absolutely terrible person and a douchebag, as much as you can hate him for the crimes he's committing and how he is as a person, but it's hard to deny that DiCaprio brings such screen presence in this movie that just draws you into this performance, and he's entertaining at every scene of this movie. When I think about movies, regardless of how long they are, the film's lead and how flawlessly he is played by the main actor, he is just captivating at every moment. I think to movies like Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood, or recently Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer, and Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street ranks among them. Now, as much as I loved his performance in The Revenant, it was such a phenomenal and dedicated performance that thankfully won him his overdue Oscar for Best Actor in 2016, but man, it would have been a real treat to see Leonardo DiCaprio win his first Oscar for The Wolf of Wall Street. And the rest of the supporting cast is excellent, especially from Jonah Hill. Now, I've always liked Jonah Hill as an actor. I've always thought he was funny, and I think he's a talented actor. I like him in comedies like Superbad or This Is the End, and I thought he was terrific in his first Oscar-nominated performance in Moneyball. But here, this is still my favorite performance he has ever done. Like DiCaprio, he just relishes this role so much and brings so much humor and energy to it. Now, most of the time I can tell it's Jonah Hill whenever I see him in a movie, but this is one of those few times where he completely disappeared into the role. Or not once where I was thinking, I'm watching Jonah Hill, I was like, Jonah Hill is doing such an amazing job in this movie. And that's a testament to Jonah Hill's talents as an actor, being both funny and proving that he can be a great serious actor at the same time. And I was so happy that this film got him his second Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor 2 years after Moneyball. Now, this was the very first film I took notice of Margot Robbie in. All I can say is, what an excellent breakthrough performance. When I first watched this movie, I thought of two things when I first saw her. One, this woman is drop dead gorgeous, and two, she is going places, and I am so glad she did. She did an absolutely fantastic job acting, just going toe-to-toe with Leonardo DiCaprio, and even some of the intense argument scenes with her and Leo. Just absolutely amazing acting from her that showed her talents. And she would continue to prove that throughout the years. As much as I hate Suicide Squad, I do love her as Harley Quinn and liked her in Birds of Prey and loved her in The Suicide Squad. Since then, she has been nominated for 2 Oscars, I, Tonya and Bombshell, both films I do want to check out, especially I, Tonya. In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I heard she's terrific in Babylon. And recently, Barbie, the highest grossing film of 2023. So I'm really glad that this film shows that Margot Robbie is a star. And I also want to give credit to Matthew McConaughey, who was so great and hilarious in his limited screen time in the first half of this movie, and delivering one of the most memorable scenes in the film, the chest beating scene, which I actually heard was improvised by Matthew McConaughey, and I love that. And other great supporting performances from Rob Reiner as Leonardo DiCaprio's father, great to see him in a movie. Kyle Chandler as the FBI agent, John Bernthal is in this. Jean Dujardin, who won his Best Actor Oscar for The Artist, he's great here. And even other directors who I remembered were in this movie, like Spike Jonze, which he was on fire around the time of this movie with this and his excellent film Her, which I loved. And Jon Favreau, I remembered when he showed up, I was like, oh my god, Jon Favreau was in this movie. Now, The Wolf of Wall Street is hilarious, and this is by far Scorsese's funniest film to date. Just from the physical comedy, how witty it is, the back and forth banter between characters, are all just very funny, entertaining, and rapid fire. And I want to talk about the funniest scene in the movie, the Quaalude scene, where Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill take 15-year-old Quaaludes, and at first they don't have an effect, but once Jordan Belfort gets to the country club and they kick in, oh my god, that scene is a riot. It was absolutely hysterical. Just the way they both acted and just how crazy that scenes get. Oh my god. I was howling with laughter like, oh my god. Get him off the phone! Get off the phone! You ate 2 million? You don't hate 2 million, Donnie. I love that scene so much. Just every time I think about it, it cracks me up. And I also want to commend Scorsese for making that scene absolutely hilarious, but also intense at the same time. And I also loved how this movie was edited. It had just fast-paced editing that just moves from scene to scene. That quick editing, luckily, didn't get too obnoxious, and how it just contributes to the energy of this movie and how it keeps it going. And to me, I thought this was the best edited film of 2013. And it's crazy to think that this wasn't nominated for an Oscar for Best Editing. Like, what the hell, Academy? Now, this movie is 3 hours, and I always bring this movie up as an example of a 3-hour movie that just flies by. It is not dull, tedious, and boring at all. And even in a few slower scenes, it still keeps the story investing to where I didn't want it to end and I just could watch maybe a couple more minutes of this movie. As much as this movie is outrageous and showing the lifestyle on Wall Street with its debauchery of sex, drugs, and money, luckily, this movie doesn't condone the actions of the characters, the excess, or that lifestyle. It does show it in its craziness, but also aware of the serious consequences by that lifestyle. Now, it may seem wild, but it was also dangerous at the same time, so I'm glad Scorsese kept that intact when telling the story of this movie. As for issues or nitpicks, nope, I do not have a single complaint with The Wolf of Wall Street. Everything about this movie, I loved. In conclusion, The Wolf of Wall Street ranks among one of Scorsese's very best films to date. It's fast-paced, wild, outrageous, vigorous, an engaging and entertaining true crime story. Tremendous and career best performances from both Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill, witty screenplay, hilarious comedy, and absolutely solidifies Scorsese as a master filmmaker. If you have not seen The Wolf of Wall Street in a while and are interested in giving this film a rewatch, please do. I still think this movie holds up 10 years later. While I am happy that this film was nominated for Best Picture as well as multiple Oscars, I was disappointed that it didn't win a single Oscar and went home empty-handed. I didn't think it would win Picture or Scorsese winning Director due to competition with 12 Years a Slave, which won, and Gravity. But man, I would have loved to see this movie win Best Film Editing, Adapted Screenplay, and in particular, Leonardo DiCaprio for Best Actor. And as much as Chiwetel Ejiofor in 12 Years a Slave was impactful and heartbreaking, as well as Matthew McConaughey giving a fantastic and transformative performance in Dallas Buyers Club, Leo DiCaprio was my pick to win Best Actor that year. He absolutely killed it in Wolf of Wall Street. But he did win his first Best Actor Oscar 2 years later for The Revenant, so better late than never. But despite all of that, The Wolf of Wall Street, I absolutely love it. I can't praise it enough. And now to grade it, I'm going to give The Wolf of Wall Street, but bam, 5 out of 5 stars and A+. What an incredible and hilarious film that holds up phenomenally and is a masterwork from Scorsese. And Scorsese is reuniting with Leo DiCaprio this Friday. Killers of the Flower Moon comes out, which I'm very excited to see. It looks fantastic. And where would The Wolf of Wall Street be in my top 5 favorite Martin Scorsese movies? Oh boy, this is a tough one because Scorsese has so many great and classic films in his filmography. It's kind of hard to do a top 5, honestly, but I'll give it a try. Number 1, The Departed. 2, Goodfellas. 3, might put Wolf of Wall Street there. 4, Taxi Driver. 5, either Raging Bull or Hugo. Hugo would probably be around my top 5. I love that film. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, crazy to think that the last film Scorsese directed before this was a PG family movie. And this movie was so close to getting an NC-17 rating from the MPAA. Critics think how much sexual content that Scorsese had to trim down this movie to maintain an R rating. And it's also in my top 5 favorite films of 2013. And I remember doing a favorite films of 2013 list 2 years ago. And now it will be my updated version of that list. My number 1 favorite film of 2013 would actually be Prisoners upon further thought. 2 would be Her. 3, Wolf of Wall Street. 4, 12 Years a Slave. Those 4 films I gave an A+ to. Those are my S-tier films of films that came out in 2013. So I would like to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of The Wolf of Wall Street if you've seen it? Do you agree, disagree with my review? Or if you've never seen The Wolf of Wall Street, are you interested in checking it out for the first time? Let me know in the comments below. Did you enjoy hearing my thoughts on this movie and would like to see more reviews like this in the future? If yes, please hit that like and subscribe button if you're new here. And don't forget that notification bell for my next upload in the future. It really means a lot. And until the next video, I'm Jack Benner and look forward to another movie review.